workouts for the week, and that's where we bring in our senior NFL writer, Jeremy Fowler, to take us around the league. And Aaron Rodgers finally signed with Pittsburgh after once considering going to Minnesota. So how do the Vikings feel about J.J. McCarthy taking command coming off of that knee injury?
I mean, it's no secret that Aaron Rodgers had interest in being in Minnesota's minicamp this week. He had interest in playing for Kevin O'Connell, one of the best play callers in the league. The Vikings passed on that because they believe they have a 3-year window to potentially win a Super Bowl with that man right there, J.J. McCarthy, because they can build a strong roster, continue to, around a rookie-scale contract. They believe the 2024 draft class could be historic as far as quarterbacks go, and McCarthy was a big part of that. So looking good so far. He's moving well on that knee. He's throwing accurately in the intermediate range of the field. So far, so good, it sounds like. And you got the Colts there. You see Daniel Jones. He is making his move this week, his early move, making a statement before training camp on that quarterback spot with Anthony Richardson out, resting, some shoulder soreness, agitation. I was told Jones this week processed fast from the line of scrimmage. He built some chemistry with his wide receivers. He looked, quote, very sharp, as somebody over there told me. So it's early, but Jones is making, a slight move. We'll see how it goes. And you got the New York Jets. They got some stars to pay. Sauce Gardner, you see him there, and then Garrett Wilson. They have essentially 2 top 10 talents at each respective position. I'm told that there have been some early negotiations between sides here, exchanging of numbers, some of the things you do typically early in this process. So they got 6 weeks before training camp, potentially hash out some contract extensions there. And we're talking about money, too, with Washington. Terry McLaurin, he is not happy with his contract situation, I'm told. Look, we know what the market is now for wide receivers, well above $30 million per year. So it would require that on a new deal. So checking with Washington, they remain optimistic. There hasn't been as much progress as they would have liked on an extension to this point, but they do believe they can try to get this to the finish line. They want McLaurin there long term.
Yeah, McLaurin coming off of his most productive season, including a career best 13 touchdowns, 1 fewer than he had in his previous 3 years combined. So the production is definitely there. Jeremy Fowler here with us with all the insight. Thanks so much.
Welcome to NFL Live. A lot of excitement around Aaron Rodgers' arrival at Steelers minicamp today, including from someone who will face him twice a year.
I think it's a good opportunity to put him in the graveyard.
Yeah, remember that when Myles Garrett for Halloween, he put all the quarterbacks' tombstones up in front of his house? And yeah, he has put a few in the graveyard, or at least his graveyard, as we welcome you into the show. By the way, Steelers-Browns, October 12th at 1 p.m., appointment viewing. Marcus Spears, Tim Hasselbeck, Adam Schefter here. Swagoo, you defensive guys, y'all are mean. What's up with that?
It's kind of gotta be in your blood, Boogie. First of all, it's great to be back with y'all. It's gotta be a part of who you are. I tell everybody, every defensive player that's ever played in the league has a little bit of crazy in them, and we want to do harm to other human beings when we out there on the field, whether we want to admit it or not. So Miles shares in that trait with a long lineage of guys, including myself.
Yeah, including me. I'm like that too. All right, new on NFL Live. Just moments ago, we heard from Aaron Rodgers for the first time since signing with the Steelers.
Some things improved a little bit where I felt like I could fully be all in here with the guys. I had a great conversation with Mike throughout the entire process and Omar. But it's good to get that done and get behind us. I don't need it. For my ego, I don't need it to keep playing. A lot of decisions that I've made over my career and life from strictly the ego, even if they turn out well, are always unfulfilling. But the decisions made from the soul are usually pretty fulfilling. So this was a decision that was best for my soul. And I felt like being here with Coach T and the guys I got here and the opportunity here was the best for me. And I'm excited to be here.
Soul searching. Okay, Adam, what can you tell us about Rodgers' first day with the Steelers?
Well, it started out with him delivering a message of similar note to what he told reporters later in the day, Laura. He told his team after weeks of speculation about when he would sign and whether he would show up, that he was fully committed, all in, ready to go to work and be there with the rest of his teammates. And that work began right away today with his first practice as a Pittsburgh Steeler. This essentially was his onboarding. These few days of mandatory minicamp are his version of orientation, where he can begin to work with his teammates, learn his coaches, see the offense, experience his new city, his new home. But that was what he told his team this morning. He's all in and ready to get to work with them.
Chef, it's a great point. You know what I feel like every offseason? I feel like Aaron Rodgers is that boyfriend that wants to come back in the summer and reel you back in because he got a lot of good trips planned. And I feel like it keeps happening to me. And this Pittsburgh thing, as you all know, we've been on before. I've been directly opposed to it because I thought it would keep Pittsburgh in the same situation that they've been in, that we've talked about ad nauseum a minimum of the last 5 years. Obviously, they made a draft pick to get Kenny Pickett and thought that he would be their long-term answer. So I got to give them credit for that. But my question is, what does this do for your organization if you don't win big? And I'm not sure. I'm never going to write Pittsburgh off. They made the playoffs with guys like Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. So I think they can get into postseason play. Therein lies my conundrum. How far do you get in the playoffs if you're not going to get to a Super Bowl that causes yourself to be picking in the 20s or the late 20s once again? And do you have to go into another offseason trying to figure out how to maneuver to potentially get your franchise guy? Obviously, Aaron's age and where they are as a franchise brings about a lot of those questions for me.
Listen, I think when you look at it, though, 1 year, $13.5 million for a guy that, you know, I guess 3 years ago was dominating the NFL. Look, Marcus, you're right. Like, there's no guarantee that Aaron Rodgers is going to be Aaron Rodgers, the MVP caliber Aaron Rodgers. But he does bring hope at a minimum this time of year. You know, hope that Mason Rudolph doesn't bring you right now. So, or Will Howard, like, doesn't bring you right now. So I think you have that. And I think the fact that you're getting him on a deal that is, quite frankly, like, much lower than I was anticipating on a one-year deal for Aaron Rodgers. So, you know, in this world where, you know, quarterbacks, you know, on long-term contracts are making, you know, over $50 million, to get Aaron Rodgers on a one-year deal less than $15 million, and he could easily throw 32 touchdowns and 6 picks and give your team a chance, like, I actually think that's pretty good living for Pittsburgh.
Tim, I don't disagree with you. I think we talk about two different situations. I'm focused on more the prism from Pittsburgh, right? Like, I think Aaron will be fine with Pittsburgh. He actually had some great moments, or really good moments, with the New York Jets. My thing is this: do you think Will Howard is going to benefit from Aaron being in the building and he potentially becomes your franchise quarterback? Because the reality is, Aaron is not going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers into the future. More than likely, this is a one-year deal. And we've seen them in this position before. My question is more about Pittsburgh and their plan going forward, so we not having this conversation when Aaron Rodgers decides to leave or retire or it doesn't go well. But it's really not based on him. I think they got a really good situation with Aaron.
No, listen, I think it's legitimate. I mean, look, I don't think Will Howard's going to end up being their answer anyway, which is why he was drafted where he was drafted. But I think ultimately, when you look at kind of how this affects the team, look, they're never going to be bad enough with their coaching and their defense to be picking at the very top. So when that's the case, you're always going to be searching for a quarterback some other way.
By the way, Swagoo, you said that Aaron Rodgers is like that boyfriend that keeps coming back in the summer. He's married now. He confirmed that he's married today, so it can't be the boyfriend anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Well, no boyfriend no more.
Swagoo.
Yeah.
Swagoo. In the next commercial break, he's going to be looking up that T. He didn't say who he's married to, though. All right, let's talk about T.J. Watt. Adam, T.J. Watt is not at Steelers minicamp. What can you tell us about that?
Well, Laura, he is entering the last year of a 4-year contract that's scheduled to pay him just over $21 million this season. And in an offseason where we've seen pass rushers get paid, starting with Max Crosby in Las Vegas, Myles Garrett in Cleveland, each player becoming at that time the highest paid defensive player in NFL history, T.J.